Hello everyone, welcome to Vocabulary of Physics. In this video, we're going to discuss about concept of linear momentum. It's a very important concept in mechanics. Let's get into the details of it. So first of all, what is linear momentum? We need to understand that momentum in a very conceptual way. It is defined as something which is possessed by the body. You transfer that momentum to the body because of the force exerted. This concept of momentum is very essential to understand the idea of force as defined by Newton, first law, second law, and third law of motion, where force is defined in terms of the linear momentum. So how do we understand momentum? Momentum is something which is transferred to the body. We call it as a push. Imagine an object is given a push, a javelin or otherwise a sphere is thrown, and this momentum is transferred from our body to the object to which it has been transferred. So that is there. So whenever you transfer that push, the body possesses that. This is a quantity which is possessed by the body. It is localized within the body. That's how we define. And when you transfer this momentum can be exchanged with the other objects only because of the interaction between the bodies, and that interaction is called force. So interaction leads to transaction. So that's important here. During the interaction between two objects or two particles, momentum is exchanged between them, but total momentum is conserved. That's what we want to understand. So whenever we define concept of momentum, we automatically introduce the concept of conservation of linear momentum also. That's the idea. So how this definition has been evolved over the years, let us understand. This is the definition of linear momentum. It's a vectorial quantity, mass times velocity. Earlier days, during the year 530 AD, so that time John Philoponus has defined this push or impetus idea with which we are able to throw the weapons, and they possess that energy or that momentum, whatever we call it as. But he says that once you transfer that, as it travels through the space, that whatever push that we had given, it gets dissipated as it is traveling. So that dissipation happens because of the viscosity or friction. Otherwise, it can remain constant. But the idea was not available or evolved during those periods. Then in the year thousands, Ibn Sina has specifically very clearly mentioned, okay, impetus is all right, defined by Philoponus, but then the dissipation of this impetus because of the movement has been rejected. He says impetus will remain conserved unless otherwise some external force acts on it. That is how he has defined it. Then comes Peter Olivi. He says that impetus depends on how heavy the object is and how fast the object is moving. So when we say heaviness during the 1000 years, that time, there was not much clarity whether we are talking about weight or mass. They were used interchangeably with some confusion. When we say fastness there, we were not talking about velocity at that time. We were talking about speed. The concept of velocity has not been evolved during that period. Then comes René Descartes, who says this entire impetus, whatever has been defined by Olivi in terms of mass and speed or weight and speed, he says the total impetus has to be conserved or constant over the universe. It can be exchanged between the bodies, but it cannot be destroyed or created. That's what he says. But then comes Huygens. He says that when we take speed in the relation, then the impetus will not be conserved. And he proved that with an experiment of bouncing balls. So he says impetus as defined by Olivi is not conserved because he was talking in terms of the speed. Then comes Jennings. He says, okay, when you conserve speed, it is not working out. But when you introduce the concept of velocity, including the direction, then whatever Descartes was proposing, that conservation will work out well. So finally comes Newton. He gave a very clear picture about concept of momentum. He defined very clearly that momentum is mass times velocity. Definition of mass, definition of velocity were very clearly given with that momentum. That formula that we know in classical mechanics, P bar equal to m into V bar, has been evolved that way. So the definition of momentum, it is a qualifying property of impact of collisions. Let's try to understand how this definition has been proposed. Imagine that there is a target and you want to hit that using various objects. So kind of damage and the impact with which these objects collide, we want to measure it. So that what are the things it depends on? That momentum or the damage or the impact that you are creating We know that faster the bullets go, more is the impact that they'll have. So momentum is defined as proportional to velocity. Not only that, momentum also depends on the mass of the bullets. Heavier objects will be able to give a bigger impact. So mass should also be part of momentum. Momentum is directly proportional to mass into velocity. And so together we have defined momentum as this. And we have defined this as vectorial quantity. Only then this conservation of linear momentum works out. So that's how it has been defined. So now if you go for system of particles, earlier what we saw was only for one particular particle. When you have system of particles, we use the idea of center of mass. How do you find momentum of system of particles? You just calculate momentum of each particle and then sum it up vectorially. Momentum of this particle m1 into v1 bar, momentum of the second particle m2 into v2 bar, and so on. You add them vectorially, you will get the total momentum. So vectorially, we'll write it like this. Total momentum of the system equal to sigma. Sigma is a symbol for summation. I running from 1 to n, like P1 bar plus P2 bar plus P3 bar and so on. You just add them vectorially. Of course, it's not scalar addition. And you get it. From there, you get velocity of center of mass also as a separate concept. So we'll discuss about center of mass in this different video. But for the time being, let's continue with it. Velocity of center of mass is actually weighted average of the velocity of all the particles that are present in the system there. So conservation of linear momentum is very important thing that has been evolved along with the definition over the years. It's a very important fundamental law for us. So what does it say? Momentum doesn't disappear in a closed system. In a closed system in the sense when the forces are not acting on it, there are no external forces. Even if there are external forces, they balance out each other. Net external force is zero. In that situation, total momentum of the system should remain constant. The internal part of the system can exchange the momentum, but as a whole, total momentum in a vectorial additional form, it is supposed to be conserved here. Let us take one example here. Imagine two objects colliding with each other. So initially they had velocities u1 and u2, whereas masses are m1 and m2. During collision, they exert force. One exerts force on two and two exerts force on one. They are action and reaction pairs. Because of the impact force that is present here, the velocities would change. These are the velocities after the collision. So u1 has been changed to v1 for the object 1 and similarly for object 2. So when you use the conservation of linear momentum, whatever momentum was there initially, that was m1 u1 bar plus m2 u2 bar, that is a total momentum, must be equal to total momentum after the collision, m1 v1 bar plus m2 v2 bar. That's what we are talking about here. So this conservation of linear momentum basically comes from the action-reaction connection. In every system, you see that this action and reaction pairs are arising in such a way that they cancel each other. They are equal in magnitude, opposite in direction. And so they cancel out together so that total force due to internal interactions will cancel out to zero. And so momentum will depend only on external forces. When it is isolated system, net external force is also zero. Momentum has to be conserved. That's where this point comes. So this formula is derived from concept of homogeneity. I have given a separate video how we can define this conservation of linear momentum from the symmetry concept. This is one important one that comes from other theorem. So we'll discuss that as a separate video. Those who are interested, then go through that video. Next, Newton's law for variable mass. Okay, generally when we study about Newton's law, we assume that mass of the body is constant. But sometimes mass of the body can change. For example, you consider the rocket which is going up, exhaust gases are coming out. So the fuel which is burned is being reduced into gases and that is being pushed out because of the excess pressure that is created. So as a whole, the mass of the rocket is changing. So mass is changing here. So in that case, how do we apply Newton's law? So generally, Newton's second law, if you consider, it says that net external force equal to rate of change of linear momentum dp bar by dt. And we know that p bar is nothing but mass into velocity. If you substitute d by dt of m into v, and here mass is also variable. Because mass is variable, we'll use product rule of differentiation. So v into dm by dt plus m into dv by dt is equal to f net. So that's how it has been written in many books. But unfortunately, this particular relation is incorrect. And many famous videos also have seen this kind of mistakes happen. Please understand that this doesn't work that way. The intricacies of it, I cannot discuss here. Probably I'll take it as a separate video, but definitely this is incorrect. The actual formula that you are supposed to apply comes from Newton's law is going to be this: net external force minus exhaust velocity of gases with respect to the rocket into dm by dt, that is rate of mass flow rate. This whole thing is going to be equal to mass into acceleration. This is external force and this is a thrust force that you get because of the gases being pushed. So this is the formula you have to use for variable mass system. Please understand this. This is incorrect. In some standard books also, they had mentioned it very clearly, but unfortunately in some videos uploaded in YouTube, they just take it like and differentiate. Please see that difference there. Okay then, so this can be derived from conservation of linear momentum, otherwise impulse momentum theorem, that I'll take as a separate video to explain how it is derived. Newton's third law. Of course, every law that is discussed in science is based on experimental observation, and laws are not universal. They'll have limitations. Sometimes they are valid, sometimes they might not be valid. Even Newton's third law also has got some validity issue. When you consider magnetic forces, for example, you can take this example where you have two wires carrying currents. If you calculate the magnetic forces, we call them as ampere forces, I into dl bar cross b bar. So the forces on these wires, they are not opposite to each other. Okay, they are acting in different directions. So according to Newton's third law, for every action, there should be equal and opposite reaction. They don't happen here. So in this particular case, if you consider the momentum of this wire and this wire together, momentum is not conserved. So you see that conservation of linear momentum is a problem, but that has been rectified. It says that whenever the wires move closer, magnetic field becomes unsteady, which produces electromagnetic waves. And if you consider the momentum of electromagnetic waves also together, in terms of the momentum of these two wires, total momentum is conserved here. So that way you can define it. And for that, you should know how do you find momentum of an electromagnetic wave that is being created. This is the formula that you have. Momentum density carried by EM waves is going to be S by C squared, where S is called Poynting vector, which is defined as E bar cross B bar by mu naught. Poynting vector is basically related to energy flow, and also it's a directional, indicating the direction of propagation. So using this relation, we can actually calculate the momentum carried by EM waves also. If you consider the momentum of the waves and also these two together, total momentum is conserved. So conservation of linear momentum has become more fundamental compared to Newton's third law. Even though here Newton's third law is violated, but the principle of conservation of linear momentum is valid here. Now let us go to relativistic mechanics. Whenever you take a classical concept and you try to extend it to relativistic mechanics, sometimes you may have to do little bit of correction to it. Even in momentum also, we needed momentum, this particular correction. In theory of relativity, momentum is adjusted for high velocities. So if you take force is equal to rate of change of linear momentum, in order to retain that particular formula, the formula for linear momentum has been changed. This is called Lorentz transformation. So momentum is defined as mv upon under root of 1 minus v square by c square. This 1 by root over 1 minus v square by c square is called gamma factor, otherwise Lorentz factor. So this is the formula that you need to use here. That's a correction. As v tends to 0, as very small compared to c, you see that this whole thing will become 0, and 1 minus 0 is 1, then it will approximately be equal to mv there. So that much you can say that. This correction is needed for law of conservation of momentum to be valid. Only then you can use conservation of linear momentum. That's a correction that you require. So we want to make sure that momentum is conserved. That way we are adjusting the linear momentum formula here. Now, if you go for photons where mass is not there, but still it is going to carry momentum, that means momentum has become much more fundamental than mass here. So let us consider relativistic energy momentum relation. A general formula is this: energy carried by any object is equal to square root of Pc whole squared plus mc squared whole square under root. So here P is the linear momentum and m is called rest mass there. So using this, you can calculate energy. The derivation I'm not going to discuss here. But now if you consider massless particle, you put just m equal to 0 here, this term will get cancelled. And so the total energy will come out to be only that part, Pc. And we also know from photon theory of light proposed by Einstein, energy is equal to hc by lambda. So by equating energy from both the relations, hc by lambda and Pc, you will see that P will come out to be equal to h by lambda. So the photon will have some momentum carried along with it because of the kinetic energy that the photon is carrying due to its wavelength. What is the implication of it? Even the photons can exert radiation. So radiation pressure there. Radiation pressure is very important when you want to understand how to define or how to design some exotic solar sails. You imagine a spaceship going in space around in a very far away distances. Only with the radiation, whatever radiation it falls on it, because of that, it gets radiation pressure, and that drives the sail through the space. That's a very interesting design. So we hope in near future we'll be able to do that. But anyway, next, conservation laws. Photon interaction, whenever you are studying absorption emission, you have to use conservation of linear momentum also to understand the implications of it. Now, when we go to quantum mechanics, everything becomes probabilistic. There is nothing deterministic here. This momentum has become an operator. That's a very interesting thing. So the intricacies of it we will not discuss here, but see how it gets transformed. It's just an operator in quantum mechanics. Momentum is not a simple numerical value. Instead, it is treated as a mathematical operator denoted by p cap acting on a wave function of a particle. So how is this defined? Operator is defined as p cap equal to minus I, that imaginary number, h cross, which is Planck's constant adjusted, into del. Del is called dou by dou x. We call it as gradient function, gradient factor. So this is how we define it. When you multiply with this wave function, dimensional, it is going to be momentum. It will be proportional to h by lambda, but that's what it is. What does it give you physically? When you take a lot of particles, lot of observations, and then you take the average of it, it comes out to be classical mechanics, linear momentum. But for one particle, it is going to be just a probability density function that we have. So that is what we have here. In this video, we studied about linear momentum, and some words I have placed here. Please have a look at them and try to understand them in the context of this science here. So I hope you understood. With that, I'll conclude here. Thank you very much for joining. Until next time, goodbye.